The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
A monster storm unleashing its fury overnight on Florida's Gulf Coast. Hurricane Helene, a catastrophic Category 4, showing no mercy, destroying property, flooding hotel lobbies, businesses, and homes, and submerging vehicles in oceans of water.
This is terrible.
Helene not only bringing hurricane-force winds to the region, but also a historic storm surge. And tonight, on top of all this, the threat of tornadoes.
Violent winds up to 100 miles per hour slamming into Florida. Floodwaters sending waves over this highway in Tampa. And treacherous driving conditions with trees blocking roads and this boat completely shored up. Unsurvivable storm surge transforming neighborhoods with chest-high water in some areas and homes completely flooded inside, leaving this man to take refuge in a kayak, and torrents of water slamming into bridges as well, turning roads into rivers. All of it inundating towns right in the center of Florida's Gulf coastline.
I've worked here in this organization for 21 years. These are the highest surge numbers I've ever seen.
And this moment lighting up the night sky, showing what appears to be a possible transformer exploding in St. Petersburg. The storm leaving more than 1 million customers without power across the region. Tampa General putting up an aqua fence in place to keep the water at bay, and it held up.
In this backpack, I have...
Some on Florida State's campus in Tallahassee forced to shelter in place.
We're going to be awake through the night watching this through the window.
The overnight landfall of Helene challenging for rescue teams, forced to save lives in the dark. As many as 40 people pulled from the rising water in Pasco County. And facing dangerous conditions with one crew in Pinellas County encountering homes engulfed in flames.
Anybody in your house?
In Clearwater, the elderly helped to safety, being carried out by first responders.
Once the winds start getting up to a certain point, we even have to hunker down.
And extraordinary rescues captured on camera, like the Coast Guard saving this man and his dog after his sailboat capsized off Sanibel Island.
And we're back out now live with the damage here in Perry, Florida. Emergency management officials up and down the coast are pleading with Floridians this morning to please stay inside of their homes if there was damage in their city or towns, because when you see images like this, it is just still too dangerous. And in some cases, Hoda, rescues are still happening.
Oh, my God. So we're okay. We're in southeastern Florida. We're okay. I cleaned my pool about 10, 15, 20, 25 times last night, but it's the cleanest pool post Helene that anybody will ever see. So that's me. That's how I operate. That's what I do. But we're like the canary in the coal mine here in Florida. I mean, I got news for you. The canary is exhausted. The canary is soaked. The canary is wanting out of here. Okay, is what's going on with me?
1 million people have their power out. I can empathize to this specifically. In Wilma, we were out at my house for 2 weeks.
I remember that.
Do you remember that? And
yeah, I didn't live here, thank God, but Jessica did, and she was the caretaker of our home. And they had, throw down big parties, but no electricity.
I do not wish that on anybody. I know how.
Did you party in my house back then during Wilma?
No. I was on a
because everybody who was
group.
anybody did. They were all in my house. Everybody. Yeah, your best friend from yesteryear. They were all in my house. I mean, everybody was just, and I remember one of my neighbors literally saved my house because apparently, like the umbrella that was at, I got to tell you, so the umbrella, I always insist on having an umbrella. Don't ask me why. You shouldn't really have one in high winds. You shouldn't really. But I always insist. So I had an umbrella out there, and it came, flying through my kitchen window. The one over the sink, just flying through. And my neighbor Bob next door, who is a locksmith and, very handy, I guess, not Jewish. He's not a Jew. Married one, but isn't. So he's very handy. He came over and he literally put plywood over our window and stopped the rain from raining into my kitchen while Jessica was partying during Wilma. And there was no electricity for weeks. But you know what? I think what was that? Wasn't that like October, November, and it wasn't so hot? And this is why everybody was in a kind of good mood about, hey, we don't have to work and the weather's nice and let's go to the beach. But in my case, it was let's go to Randi's because she's not here. She lives in New York now. So that happened. Well, yesterday, again, I have the umbrella. Shouldn't have the umbrella, but I do have the umbrella. And Howard decided that he was going to, be the rescuer of all things windows, and he was going to take down the damn umbrella. Because while we weren't hit in any way, shape, or form, this freaking thing was so huge. It was gigunda that the feeder bands, for those of you who speak fluent hurricane, were packed with wind. Okay, so it was like, I don't know, when I left here yesterday, I was caught in the middle of a feeder band. It was pouring rain. The sun was shining, though. That's how feeder bands are. They're just, concentric, things that follow the storm, and they just, loop around the sky like a freaking clock, right? And so I got caught in one of the feeder bands, and the wind just, I should have hurricane hair, but Angie did a freaking fabulous job of putting the keratin in ahead of the hurricane. So I got spared. Anyway, he was out there, and one of the feeder bands came through, and the umbrella was open. And does anybody remember Sister Bertrill from The Flying Nun? The one with the habit that she used to go like this because she weighed 95 pounds, and the thrust would be, the lift would be greater than than the drag, and the thrust would be, and she could fly. So apparently this happened to a 6'2", normal, guy yesterday, because he was holding onto that umbrella, and it literally lifted him off the ground and deposited him in the pool with all his clothes on. Of course, being, a man, he didn't bother to put them in the washing machine, so they stunk to high heaven this morning when I found the wet clothes. Just hanging out in the laundry room, smelling like molding mildew. However, he's okay. You know what I mean? He didn't die, so that's good. But we're so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. I need to move. I got to get out of here. I'm so sorry. I just do. This place, and perhaps now some people in North Carolina, like Asheville. I have a lot of friends there. We have callers from there. My God, man, you guys, you have a river that just crested and then it overflowed, and all of, Asheville, east and west, which is a nice little blue bubble in that state, just drowning this morning, just like under Did you see the flooding in Asheville? Oh, this is crazy, man.
Catastrophic, life-threatening flooding ongoing here in Asheville, across this region, not just Asheville, but western North Carolina, down into upstate South Carolina as well. It is just a mess across this region.
Okay, I could show you everything, but you could see her standing there. The hurricane has already made landfall. The hurricane has already been disposed of. It's already been decimated. It's already been dissolving, right, for a really long time. And the wind gusts there in Asheville are 40 miles an hour. The steady wind is only 14. But when those bands come through, and so now for the drama of it all, she doesn't ask her cameraman to wipe off his lens, which I think is, a fairly entry-level plea for drama. You know what my favorite plea for drama, though, has always been the stop sign in the wind. This one, everybody knows that one. I love that one. And the other thing that they have now on the Weather Channel are the wind meters. The wind meters. It looks like, the speedometer in Fast and Furious. You know what I mean? Speed. Oh, that movie Speed came true in L.A. this week. Somebody actually hijacked I almost said it, a GD bus. They hijacked a freaking bus. It was like, seriously, it was just like Speed. I was like, oh my God, where is she? Where's, what's her name? Sandra Bullock. That was all that was missing from the news reportage. They should have had her be the live reporter on the scene. It would have been hysterical. Yeah, I told you, car thefts are up. Now they're hijacking buses. They're bigger. I don't know. But, wow, a lot going on today. A lot. And thank God most of us are safe.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
You know, I referred to this yesterday.
There's a guy that inherited $200 million. If he hadn't inherited $200 million, you know where Donald Trump would be right now? Selling watches in Manhattan.
He inherited $200 million. You know where that guy would be if he didn't inherit $200 million selling watches in Manhattan? No. Yes.
My new Trump watches. We're doing quite a number with watches, and the quality to me is very important. The Trump Victory Tourbillon.
What?
This isn't just any watch. It's one of the best watches made. It's a tourbillon watch with almost 200 grams of gold and more than 100 real diamonds. That's a lot of diamonds. I love gold. I love diamonds. We all do. Only 147 of these extraordinary watches will ever exist in the world, and owning one puts you in a very exclusive club. I have watch number one, and I'm going to keep it. It's mine, and that's the way I want to have it. Each watch is numbered and extremely rare, a true collector's item, and it includes a personal letter signed by me. Get your Trump watch right now. Go to gettrumpwatches.com. It's Trump time.
Yeah. Go there. Go give him $100,000. $100,000. And you know what you don't, maybe you didn't read, maybe you did. I don't know. But on the very bottom of that, in little teeny tiny, itty bitty, almost unseeable, especially for the elders, okay, that would buy such a thing. It says, image of President Trump's watch is for illustrative purposes only and is not an exact representation of the final product, which apparently doesn't exist in the world. So therefore, it couldn't be photographed and included in the pitch for $100,000. Who knew Marco Rubio would be right about anything? But back in 2016, when he said if he hadn't been a Nepo baby of great wealth, he'd be selling watches in New York. And there you go. Never an egg timer around when you need it.
Two things quickly.
Each God.
One is uglier than the next. And he couldn't help but riff in a pre-recorded commercial. I love diamonds. I love he's riffing in a pre-recorded commercial. He cannot help himself.
Well, what do you mean? All commercials are pre-recorded.
No, that's what I'm saying is he's got a script to follow, and he still couldn't follow it.
I mean,
it's okay. It's okay.
So here's the thing about this, okay? This is why this is something people ought to know. It's because, people don't want to, really talk about what's going on with Netanyahu, a right-wing lunatic fringy dude who's turning his country into a pariah state, right? Nobody really wants to talk about it because it's very polarizing, you see. But the truth is that Netanyahu is going to keep on bombing crap as long as he can claim he's going after all the terrorists, right? And this is what he says he's doing. He was at the United Nations today, and he was saying that as long as Hezbollah has declared war on Israel, he will continue to bomb things. Okay, and, there are many, many ways to go after terrorists. As we know, in the United States, we're very familiar with how you go after terrorists and what not to do, because when we went after them in the way that W wanted us to go after them, guess what we did? We created new terrorists. ISIS, ISIS-K, ISIS-I, ISIS-L, ISIS, whatever. So there's several different plans on a shelf, right? And when a president is asking for a retaliatory plan against a terrorist organization, there's a pitch. It's a pitch meeting, just like anything, It's a pitch meeting. And so, you pick which one you want as president, and you have the final say. Netanyahu obviously picked the most, deadly one, right? The one that killed the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time. And, if it killed civilians, we don't care. Okay, we don't care. Thereby, causing his own people to hate him and go out in the street and protest him. And not necessarily because of the amount of dead people that were left in the wake of choosing the plan that says, we're going to use 2,000-pound daisy cutters to go after the tunnels But if your apartment block is built on top of the tunnels, or your hospital happens to be on top of the tunnels, well, screw you, you're going too. And that was the way that he approached Gaza. His people were out in the street protesting him because they wanted him to focus on getting the hostages who were probably in those tunnels out of the tunnels, see? And he didn't do that because his right-wing benefactors, the people who are depending on him to be this brute, to be this murderer, to be this killer, they're the ones who are keeping him in power. In this weird way, Donald Trump has a group of people who's keeping him viable for power. And so what you can see is that Netanyahu's got a bunch of right-wing sycophants who want him to keep killing terrorists as long as he's viable, as long as he's in that office, as long as he's prime minister. And if he doesn't do it, which I'm not so sure he would say no anyway. I think he's a, right-wing murderer like Bush and, Ashcroft and that whole crowd. What can I say? Rumsfeld, Cheney. I don't think they had any problems with torturing people. I don't think they had any problems with, the pictures they were seeing or the black site prisons or any of those things. I just don't think they did, and I don't think they had a problem with bombing Afghanistan. I don't think they had any problem with bombing Baghdad and calling it shock and awe. I think they kind of liked it, just created much more, terrorism in the world. But that's who they are. That's what they do. And so while Netanyahu is taking advantage of his last remaining days as prime minister of Israel through the backing of the uber right-wing bloc in parliament that is protecting him from being thrown out and thereby sent to jail, not for war crimes, no, for fraud and for, bribery. His wife, too. the whole family. And Trump, same thing here. Uber right wing, makes him viable, makes him look like he's got a shot. And instead of going after terrorists, he's grifting. So he's making his last possible dollars off of MAGA, while Netanyahu is killing the last possible targets that his right wing has told him to kill. So that's why today you see him, bombing Beirut. Now, listen, he's been bombing Beirut since last Friday. Not that anybody, pays attention. But, yeah, he's been bombing Beirut since last Friday, 5 times. 5 times he did. So today we got the information that what he's trying to do is he's trying to kill the head of Hezbollah, Nasrallah. He's trying to go after him. And we wait to see whether or not Nasrallah has been, killed. And while that bombing and that targeting of a person takes out innocent people, Netanyahu is at the United Nations giving a speech in English, which makes him feel very strong and like he's protected by his office, which he is. So be forewarned. Be forewarned. Donald Trump may be selling $100,000 watches now, but he's going to be bombing Ukraine tomorrow.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All righty. So I have to tell you, we're supposed to raise $200,000 during the Free Speech TV Fall Pledge Drive. And I'm going to be very transparent with you. We've raised $83,000. That's not enough. That's not even half. So it's been very slow. And I get the feeling as everybody's exhausted with this election stuff. But this is the last day. Today is the very, very last day to contribute to make a donation. I have to tell you, we have a frontline funder who, we have frontline funders. Today was going to be a $10,000 match day, meaning that if you made a donation, it would be matched dollar for dollar up to $10,000. But we have a frontline funder. His name is Andrew. He's from Bonsall, California. And he noticed that he wasn't having to match a whole lot and that it was very slow. So he decided that he would put in another $10,000 for today, the final day of the Fall Pledge Drive, to inspire you to give, is what he said. And so today is a $20,000 double match day. So that means that the frontline funders who are going to match you dollar for dollar will do that up to $10,000. But he also put in $10,000, so he will match you as well. Okay, so it's a double match day. So let's say you do $10, it's $30 now. Let's say you do $100, it's $300 now. So that's you can't beat that. So please do call 877-378-8669 today, last day, or visit us at freespeech.org. All right, thank you very much. So listen, here's the thing. Last night, Kamala Harris actually did a it looked very presidential. And that's the important portion of what I'm going to say about this sort of meeting between Kamala Harris and Volodymyr Zelensky, right? So the UN is having its General Assembly, and so all the world leaders are in New York, including Benjamin, and his, people walked out on him, just so you know. You're not alone. If you actually understood what I was telling you about him all those months ago, everybody in the world thinks that he has turned Israel into a pariah state headed by a warmonger. Okay? That is what he's accomplished on behalf of his little sliver of Mediterranean sand. That is what he's accomplished for his people. And we got a guy that's just dying to do the same to us, to make us some crap hole nation, to take us out of the most influential, the most indispensable nation on the planet, which is what we enjoy now, which is why when we're attacked like 25 years ago on a Tuesday morning by 15 Saudi Arabians hijacking airplanes, it's a shock, okay? It's a shock because people don't bomb since World War II, okay? Because we have alliances all over the world, because it pays to be our friend all over the world. And there are many, many people in this country, although they are a minority, who are sick of it. They don't want us to be the indispensable nation. They don't want us to be the shining city on the hill. They want to be some also-ran mediocrity, laden kind of a, and you won't like who takes our place, because when you create a power vacuum like the one that we would create with Donald Trump, somebody else is going to take our place. And it could be, Xi. It could be, I doubt it'd be Russia. They're just not sophisticated enough. They just don't have the tech. They don't have the, they do have the energy. But we want to make what they have worthless. I think that's a good plan. A lot of people don't, because they haven't thought about it. But if you take what Putin has and you make it worthless, oil and gas, and you rely on our supply, which is what we have here, he becomes an also-ran. He becomes a thought that you don't have to hold in your head very long, unless he invades his neighbor. Then that puts him front and center, doesn't it? Yeah, because his neighbor is a democracy. His neighbor is independent. His neighbor is a free country. And he does it so that everybody will, be afraid of him. And what makes you think that Donald Trump, whose hero is that guy, would do it any different? I don't know. I don't know what you think. But I will tell you that Kamala Harris laid it out very quickly last night next to Zelensky, and never had to mention, Orange Jesus's name. She just indicated that his plan to end the war quickly, same thing with Mexico will build the wall, or Mexico will pay for the wall promise that never happened, or that he had a really superior health care plan that never happened, because he doesn't. It's a concept still all these 9 years later, okay, or that he's got infrastructure week happening, which never happened. These are all charlatan spoken promises. These are promises that are broken repeatedly, which is why he's always saying promises kept. Promises made, promises kept, to distract you from the fact that he never keeps any of his freaking promises. None of them. But anyway, she explained that the way that he would end the war quickly would be to have Ukraine surrender.
My support for the people of Ukraine is unwavering. I've been proud to stand with Ukraine. I will continue to stand with Ukraine, and I will work to ensure Ukraine prevails in this war. To be safe, secure, and prosperous, the United States must continue to fulfill our long-standing role of global leadership. We must stand with our allies and our partners. We must defend our democratic values and stand up to aggressors. And we must stand for international order, rules, and norms. Each one of these principles is at stake in Ukraine. And that is why Ukraine's fight matters to the people of America. The Ukrainian people are bravely defending their homes and their homeland, their freedom and their democracy against a brutal dictator. And the American people know well the meaning of freedom, of independence, and the importance of rule of law. These ideals are central to who we are as Americans. And some of the most important moments in our history have come when we stood up to aggressors like Putin, just as we must today. Indeed, standing with our friends and defending our ideals against tyranny has helped make America the most powerful and prosperous nation in the world.
Yeah.
Putin's aggression is not only an attack on the people of Ukraine, it is also an attack on fundamental principles such as sovereignty and territorial integrity. There are some in my country who would instead force Ukraine to give up large parts of its sovereign territory, who would demand that Ukraine accept neutrality and would require Ukraine to forego security relationships with other nations.
NATO.
These proposals are the same of those of Putin. And let us be clear, they are not proposals for peace. Instead, they are proposals for surrender.
Oh! She's exactly right. And that is the plan that Donald Trump has in the back of his, brain.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Ukraine is gone. It's not Ukraine anymore.
It is.
Former President Trump this week criticized the Ukrainians for not cutting a deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the war. Today, Vice President Harris met with President Zelensky and said the focus should be on stopping Putin.
If we allow aggressors like Putin to take land with impunity, they keep going.
Yeah.
The administration announced more security assistance to Ukraine and promised Zelensky additional funds before the end of President Biden's term, easing concerns that Trump could cut the money off if he wins.
We have to keep pressure on Russia to stop the war and to make truly lasting and just peace.
Trump said he will meet with Zelensky tomorrow.
And I will be meeting with him.
But it could be tense given the comments Zelensky made in the latest New Yorker magazine, saying, "My feeling is that Trump doesn't really know how to stop the war, even if he might think he knows how."
I disagree, but I will say this. I believe I will be able to make a deal between President Putin and President Zelensky quite quickly.
He's so full of crap that, people are just, they don't even pay attention to what he says anymore. And that is the problem. That is the problem. The idea that that you could satisfy Putin by giving him, I don't know. Let's see. When Donald Trump was president, Volodymyr Zelensky actually said that Ukraine was at war with Russia. And Donald Trump said, well, then you'll want to get some dirt on Joe Biden for me. So I could win re-election, or I will hold up your military package. And Zelensky was like, wait, you're supposed to be our ally. Why would you do something like that? And so Donald Trump got impeached for that phone call, which he still insists is a perfect phone call. Okay, he wasn't going to meet with Zelensky at all while Zelensky was here in the United States in New York City for the UN General Assembly. But when he saw how presidential Kamala Harris appeared to the public in the United States, specifically to the voting public in the United States, all of a sudden he went, maybe I should meet with Zelensky. But he was trashing Zelensky all week. Donald Trump was in North Carolina goading his audience into booing Zelensky.
Every time Zelensky comes to the United States, he walks away with $100 billion. I think he's the greatest salesman on earth. But we're stuck in that war unless I'm president. I'll get it done. I'll get it negotiated. I'll get out. We got to get out.
We got to get out.
Biden said, we will not leave until we win. What happens if they win?
Ooh. What happens if Putin wins? I mean, you know, this is him. He was mocking Zelensky's gravelly voice. He was suggesting that the United States is somehow committed inside. I mean, like Americans are on the ground in military uniforms fighting Russia. None of that is true. None of that is happening. And then you've got his buddy over there, Netanyahu, who really is invading other countries and widening the war there. And you know Donald Trump will do exactly what Netanyahu wants him to do. If Donald Trump becomes president, he looks the other way and lets Netanyahu just decimate the entire Middle East. Wherever, you know, I mean, Netanyahu will go into Iran if he has to. He's obviously in Lebanon right now. He has decimated Gaza and is literally stealing the West Bank out from under Palestinians who live in the Palestinian territory known as the West Bank. Now, I mean, this idea that Donald Trump is the peacemaker, you know, that Donald Trump is, bless the Lord shall bless the blessed are the peacemakers or whatever that expression is. That's right out of the freaking Godfather. Okay, these are the people that make the war. But anyway. So he decided that he wanted to meet with Zelensky at the last possible moment. So he called him and he said, come and meet with me at Trump Tower. And Zelensky, who, you know, has no idea who's going to win this election any more than anybody else does, said, well, you know, I mean, I am the president of Ukraine. I have to make sure my country has support no matter who wins this election, and it could be him. And Donald Trump decided that he was going to use Zelensky. He was going to use him to insist that the first impeachment over this holding up of Ukraine's military, the Javelin missiles, to get in exchange for a quid pro quo, in exchange for dirt on Joe Biden, never happened. He literally stood next to Zelensky yesterday, or was it this morning? I think it was this morning, and lied about Zelensky and what Zelensky said about holding up military aid.
Look, this is a meeting, and we have a big race going on right now. I guess 37 days left, and we're leading in the polls, so we'll see how it all works out. Hopefully it'll work out, but if it does, we're going to work very much with both parties to try and get this settled and get it worked out. It has to end at some point. It has to end. He's gone through hell, and his country has gone through hell like few countries have ever, like it's happened anywhere. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It's a terrible situation. And I will say I have had a great relationship. It was very honorable. I don't even know if you know this, but when they did the impeachment hoax, it was a hoax, just a Democrat hoax, which we won. But one of the reasons we won it so easily is that when the president was asked, it was over a phone call with the president, and he said he could have grandstanded and played cute, but he didn't do that. He said, President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. He said it loud and clear, and the impeachment hoax died right there.
What?
He could have said, well, I don't know, I don't know. And I never even told you this, to be honest, but he was like a piece of steel.
Huh?
He said President Trump did nothing wrong. We had a very nice call. He congratulated me on his victory. It just won. And I remember that he could have played cute, and he didn't play cute.
He's using Zelensky to exculpate himself from something he did get impeached for. He should have been removed, but he wasn't because the Senate didn't have the gumption to do it. Because Mitch McConnell was like, all right, well, well, that's not that big of a deal. Whatever. And now he's standing next to a man whose country is being invaded by Donald Trump's friend, Vladimir Putin, and lying about what Zelensky said on that phone call, which we all heard, okay? And then also Zelensky gave interviews to CNN at the time. He gave interviews to Time Magazine at the time. He gave interviews to the Washington Post at the time, okay? He gave interviews to Politico at the time. He never said Donald Trump did nothing. He never said that Donald Trump did nothing wrong, ever. Ever. Those words never came out of his mouth. In fact, what he said was, I would never want Ukraine to be a piece on the map or on the chessboard of big global players so that someone could toss us around, use us as cover, or for some sort of a bargain. That is what Zelensky said was going on at the time. He said, I would really want, and we feel this, it's true, for them, us, to help us, to understand us, to see that we are a player in our own right, that they can't make deals about us behind our backs. He was very plain about it, saying, I never thought an ally would hold up our missiles, or our ally would, And he actually said that in 2014, they entered into a war because Putin invaded Crimea. And he said they've been at war ever since, and that, we're at war. How could the American president use us as a chess piece? How could the American president use a country, a democracy in Europe, at war because they've been invaded by an empire, an evil empire, as a bargaining chip? How is that? And he stood there and he exploited Zelensky yet again because he has this guilty conscience about what he was impeached for, and he still sees it as a slight. He still sees it as something that, he wants to rewrite the history about and make you forget that he did do that thing that he was impeached for. And Zelensky is standing there like, oh my God, please, dear Lord, do not let this happen again.
Mary had a little ram.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
With less than 6 weeks to go until Election Day, polling from Bloomberg News and Morning Consult continues to show a tight race in every battleground state. In the latest survey, Vice President Kamala Harris holds leads within the margin of error in every swing state but Georgia, where she and former President Donald Trump are tied in this poll. Harris leads by 3 points among likely voters in Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. She's also up by 7 points in Nevada, by 2 points in North Carolina, and by 5 points in Pennsylvania.
And the one race that she's tied in, Georgia, there's the latest Fox News survey of likely voters in Georgia. That has Harris ahead of Trump by 3 percentage points. Mm-hmm. That, too, of course, falls within the margin of error. So if you look at all of these polls, it's a tie.
It's a tie. It's a tie. Why doesn't he just run for mayor of New York? Why doesn't he just do that? I mean, like Eric Adams, who is currently the mayor of New York, maybe for another 3 to 5 minutes. I have no idea. He's a Democrat. He's so freaking corrupt. He's been charged by the U.S. attorney. His name's Damian Williams. I don't know if you know anything about Damian Williams, but when I tell it to you, it will help you decide, I think, about whether or not you think Eric Adams is guilty of corruption or not. Okay? Here's Damian Williams' curriculum vitae. He went to Howard University, historically, black college university, Howard University. Kamala went there too. And then he, at Howard, he majored in economics. And then he went to Cambridge University, where he studied international studies. Mm-hmm. And then he went to Yale Law School, where he got a doctor of jurisprudence in law. Okay, he is a lawyer. And then Preet Bharara, who Donald Trump fired at SDNY, actually hired him, Damian Williams, to be part of SDNY. And now he's the U.S. attorney in New York, and he's responsible for some of the prosecutions that you know, like Sam Fried, what's his name? Sam Bankman-Fried, the crypto, fraud, him, the girl who testified against him and cooperated. She just got 2 years from the same prosecutor that we're talking about here with regard to Eric Adams. Damian Williams. Let's see. He also prosecuted, you remember the New York representative's name's Chris Collins. This was early on in the Trump administration. He was at the White House. He was on the phone with his son. He was he was playing the stock market as a Republican member of Congress, which he's supposed to put stuff in a blind trust. But anyway, he was on the phone with his son, who was reporting to him that a Australian pharmaceutical company, which they were heavily invested in, just released the results of a clinical trial for, I don't remember what kind of drug. I think it might have been cancer. You'd have to check me. Chris Collins, you can go Google that. And so he dumped his stock based on inside information about a clinical trial while serving as a member of Congress in the White House. On the White House lawn, he gets this phone call. Damian Williams prosecuted him for insider trading and got a guilty verdict from him. And also, he is responsible for the charges against Sean Diddy Combs. Yes, these are the cases that have been brought and are continuing to be brought by Damian Williams, U.S. Attorney in New York. So he's now brought 5 charges against the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, who by all accounts, from reading this indictment yesterday, was 57 pages. I couldn't read it while I was on the air, but now I have, took a lot of money from Turkey, the country, Erdogan's Turkey. Took a lot of trips, and it's very reminiscent of, Clarence Thomas's, habits about taking money from billionaires and, autocrats and, people who will pay for luxury travel for you, and then in exchange you do favors for them. One of the and this was ongoing. Okay, this has been going on since as early as his first election in New York. He's now up for re-election in New York. So 4 years ago is when it goes way back to when he was a dirty cop, because that's who Eric Adams is. And then he was a Brooklyn borough manager, which is sort of a figurehead type position. And then he parlayed all this into being mayor of New York. I'm sure, Maya Wiley, who would have made a wonderful mayor of New York, is, disgusted because she lost to this guy. And now we're finding out through this indictment and other sources that what he did as mayor was he took a very clean administration, which he inherited from Bill de Blasio. Like Bill de Blasio, don't like Bill de Blasio, think Bill de Blasio did a good job. You don't think he did. I don't care. But Bill de Blasio had a clean city hall. Bill de Blasio was not hiring friends and cronies and giving jobs through patronage, meaning my son needs a gig. Okay, he could be, the fire inspector or whatever. So when Eric Adams took over City Hall, he apparently put all kinds of cronies in there, all kinds of friends, hired everyone through patronage, like it wasn't what you knew, it was who you knew. And now the governor of New York has to decide, because she can have him removed. He can resign of his own free will But he's defiant. He's like, no, I'm not resigning. I'm staying. This is a political witch hunt. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? I mean, the things that are coming out of that man's trap for a really long time now have sounded so much like Trump that he ought to become a Republican at this point, or New York, just go ahead and elect Donald Trump, because that's what you got with this mayor. You got Donald Trump as your mayor with a D after his name, but the same exact, like, disgusting, blame game, pointing fingers at others as you're doing the bad thing. So he can resign, he can leave, or the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, can actually remove him, or a committee of his peers could convene, but there are no rules for them to follow about how you would remove a mayor, because this has never happened. In the history of New York, this has never happened. So that's what you're looking at, New York. You're looking at an empty shell of a government in the city because he has packed it with crime. And in fact, all the legit people, they've all resigned. They all walked out the door. People like who work for the health department, people who work for the fire, they're like, we're done. We're out of here. This is crazy. This is madness. You can't do anything. You can't get anything done in this city. The man is dirty. Why doesn't he just leave? And if he does, then he's got his loyalists still embedded in the government. Now, that sounds so uber familiar to those who have read or perused or skimmed or scanned Project 2025. And this is exactly the kind of thing that would befall the United States of America if that man, that orange piece of dung, actually breaks the tie in his favor. I cannot believe it's a tie. It makes me sick to know that. It's not a tie in popular vote because, I really believe Kamala Harris will get more votes. I really do. But we don't pick presidents that way. This isn't a direct democracy after all. It is a representative republic. We elect the electors, and they cast their ballots for the president. And in this electoral college system, where you have states like Georgia, where she's pulled ahead, but yes, within the margin of error, but by 3 percentage points ahead of Donald Trump, they may not certify the results of that election. And so minus 16 electoral votes will be required. Or will it be a constitutional crisis? Because you do need 270, and there aren't 270 available.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The corruption alleged in the indictment is, as I said, long-running. As we allege in the indictment, Adams' solicitation of illegal campaign contributions began in 2018. After he started raising funds for his 2021 mayoral campaign, he agreed to take contributions offered by multiple Turkish businessmen, several of whom he met in Turkey. Adams knew that these wealthy individuals could not legally donate in a U.S. election. Federal law clearly prohibits foreign donations. That's how we protect our elections from foreign influence. Yet Adams directed his staff to pursue this illegal money to support his campaign for mayor. And as we allege, Adams continued to pursue foreign money in secret well into 2021. And it didn't stop with his first campaign for mayor. As we allege, in 2023, the mayor rekindled these corrupt relationships, seeking more illegal campaign contributions from some of the same foreign sources to support his re-election campaign. Adams also took contributions that broke other laws. As we allege, he sought contributions from businessmen far in excess of what the law allowed.
I mean, Damian Williams has entirely, too much dignity, and he has all the best words, obviously. But if he broke all the laws. I would love to hear somebody, a prosecutor just say, you know what happened here? He broke all the laws. Like Diddy, okay, that he's the same prosecutor in the Sean Puffy Combs case. He's the same prosecutor that's prosecuting him for, what did he call those things? Throwdowns or shakedowns or They're orgies. They're orgies is what they are. But he had a name for them.
Wasn't it freak-offs or
Yes, freak-offs.
Something like that.
To hear Damian Williams say that over and he kept on saying it over and over again to drive it home that it had a name, that the orgies had a name, and that they came with orders for 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Oh, my God. Was it travel size or the full size? I mean, like, how much sloshing around did you? This is like playing, Twister with, we used to do that with Wesson oil. That was just fun, is what it was. But, yeah, I mean, he said it over and over to drive it home about how pervy it got and how I would just love for him to just say, they broke, these are not the only laws they broke. They broke all the laws, every one of them. Because when it comes to campaign finance, okay, there's really only one law. You understand? This is why he could say, almost legit, he broke all the laws. Because there's really only one, and that says no foreign money. No foreign money in U.S. elections. And this man was in Istanbul. He was in Turkey, which, by the way, is a fabulous freaking place. The Bosporus River. Oh, you're standing, like you could have one toe in Asia and one toe in Europe, but it's such a great place. The food is great. The people are phenomenal, and it's a very, very melting pot. It really is. It's an exciting city. I loved it. I love Istanbul. I would go back there in a heartbeat. But you don't go there to fundraise. You go there to eat great food and maybe buy a Turkish rug, which I did. And you know how you know that you got the rug that you picked at the rug salesman's? You sign your name on the back of the rug after you pay him. And then when they ship it to you, it's the one that you signed. See? Where there's a will, there's a way, to be honest. To be honest. It's very low tech, by the way. But, when you want to break the law, all you need to do is take foreign money, and there you are. And then the rest of the charges, not just about foreign money, not just about Turkey. You know who the lobbyist for Turkey used to be? See, my older people will know this. Younger people won't even know who the hell I'm talking about, which is a crying shame. But Fat Denny Hastert. Do you remember him? He was the former Speaker of the House. Remember him? He had to resign in shame, and then he went to be a lobbyist. Yeah. And he actually went to work at the same company Howard worked at, the same lobby shop, right? It was a big-ass K Street lobby shop. And I used to go down the hallway of that office and scream, "Where's Fat Denny Hastert?" And this is why I got banned from being able to visit Howard at work. Did you know that? Just a little side story. A little trip down memory lane for you. But Denny Hastert was the lobbyist for Turkey. And no one could figure out, like, what is there that Turkey wants that you have to have a lobbyist? It turns out plenty. And greasing the mayor of New York City will get you some of it. And what did they want? Okay, they were opening up a consulate. This is one of the things they wanted, just for instance, like why people hire lobbyists. So they wanted to open up a consulate in New York City, a building. And the building, there's no new, I shouldn't say there's no new. There's very few new buildings. So this was an old building that they had refurbished, rehabbed, and they wanted to make it the Turkish consulate. Fine. But it didn't pass the fire inspection, see. And so they greased Eric Adams to make the fire inspection go the way that the Turkish government wanted it to go. And so you know what means. So now you're gonna start wiring it because you got to put in computers and fiber, whatever you're gonna do. You're gonna start wiring this building, and God forbid it goes on fire. Well, guess what? You live next door to the Turkish consulate. You're on fire too. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why there's fire inspections included when you're building in any place, let alone Manhattan, where everybody's on top of everybody else. See, and this is the kind of swill that goes on, okay? So, like I'm saying, he's so corrupt, he might as well call himself a Republican, or you might as well go, Democrats in New York, go ahead. A lot of people argue with me, I don't like Maya Wiley. What was it about her that you didn't like? Woman's freaking a genius. She cares about people. She has plans and ideas of how to, literally make New York a place where people of color aren't threatened by police. Eric Adams, he played that game. The same game that You know, Rudy Giuliani lost his law license finally. He was disbarred yesterday in Washington, D.C. Finally. I mean, I don't know what makes mayors of New York crash and burn in this manner, but it's a perfect job for Donald Trump. Perfect. Go be a corrupt mayor of New York, and you could still sell your watches. You could still, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you could still sell, Trump steaks, and you could still sell Trump water and Trump vodka and Trump University and Trump Ed. Well, not in New York. They're hip to you there. That's where Trump University was. So, it's sickening. But I will say this. When a Democrat does something sickening, something corrupt, something, that endangers other people's lives or breaks the one campaign finance law that there is, Democrats will call them out and say, get out of here. We don't want to be tainted by you. We don't want to be colored by you. We don't want our party to embrace you. We want you to leave. We want you to resign. We want you to be accountable. We want you to face the bar judge. Not so the Republican Party. No, not so. No. When they're guys, even a George Santos, my God, man, he was like a Hurricane Helene of lies. Okay, he was a fire hose, a douchebag. In the end, they protected him. They covered for him. Fat Denny Hastert, they covered for him too. You know what his issue was? Wrestling coach. Yeah, the boys. He did it. Got caught.
Clear. 4. Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody, this is it. This is the last time. This is the last time for me to ask you to please contribute to the fall Free Speech TV pledge drive, right? I'm done. The pledge drive, as far as I'm concerned, it ends with me, and it ends right here. So this is your final pitch. This is your final chance to have your money matched 2 times. 2 times, okay? Because we were going to do a up to $10,000 match day, dollar for dollar, which we did yesterday too. But all of a sudden, it dawned on one of our frontline funders that he wasn't being asked to match a whole lot. We had raised like $83,000. We were supposed to raise $200,000, which leaves the balance like $117,000 to be raised today. He was like, well, you know what I'll do? I'll put in another 10 grand is what if I have to do it, I have to. And he actually did. He put in another 10 grand. So now your money will go. It will be matched by the original frontline funders, and now it will also be matched by Andrew in California. He will match again. So your $100 becomes $300. $1,000 becomes $3,000. And can you see how we could get there from here? So use your phone and put FSTV, Free Speech TV, the letters, into 44321. Text to 44321, the letters FSTV. And you'll get a secure link and you can donate that way and it will be matched. Or you can visit us at freespeech.org or you can call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. I'm 561. They're 877. Okay, don't get confused. I'm sorry if I confused you. I didn't mean to. I really didn't. But thank you so much for, supporting Free Speech TV throughout this fall pledge drive. This will get us through the election. That is very important, and that's why it's just so shocking. So shocking, I tell you, that it's been, what they say, slow. All right, Brother David.
Well, it's a fragmented, fractured Friday, sister.
Yeah?
Here's who I am, and I said this to the chat room. Hi, chat room. Last night, I went to bed having seen She Who Turned the World On With Her Smile and He Whose Balls Are Visible from Outer Space, standing in the White House looking like the world leaders they are, watched the DNC acceptance speech for the umpteenth time, and woke up this morning literally on my news alert, because I had that journalism base, that the icon who I have been besotted by since my grandmother took me too young to see the Prime of Miss Jean Grody in Albuquerque had departed planetside.
Yes.
So I'm a little verklempt today.
What's the dame's name?
Maggie Smith.
Yeah. What was she, 89?
89.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the world in which I live and toil. So
go with God, Maggie.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, I loved what you said a minute ago, because one of the big differences between the two parties is that when our side
F's up,
screws up
yeah.
and can be purred,
yeah.
I mean, there's a reason AOC, before the indictment, was calling for his resignation. We will call our leaders accountable, hold them
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you want corrupt leaders, just go ahead and elect a Republican. Just go ahead. Just do it. Get it over with. Because that is the choice, really. It's between doing the hard work to get us where we want to go as a middle class, as a poor population, as a deindustrialized, Midwest, versus, being lied to about that.
And the lies always come out sooner or later, and usually on the case of that side, it's later. But, if Jimmy Walker or Ed Koch back in the day, to say nothing of Rudy, didn't get kicked out, it is a big deal that Mayor Eric has been indicted. I mean, this is the first time it's ever happened in New York City.
Yes, it is.
And to me, that's in a weird way encouraging. It's a sign of the times, but it's also brings me back to my basic point: vote, get out the vote, do everything you can.
Really, and just remember this. Just remember this little tidbit that I'm sure you will agree with, brother. Character counts.
Precisely.
It matters. So vote for somebody that doesn't lie to your freaking face. Vote for somebody that doesn't, use other people to, lie in front of. I mean, I couldn't believe, Zelensky hasn't suffered enough. Okay, I could not believe what I was watching there. I could not. I just was like, oh my God, this poor man has to stand there and take it from this moron.
This creature.
He's a moron. He's an idiot.
Yeah. Popper standing by her yesterday, and boom, boom,
And you could see the
equal
respect,
weight, equal integrity.
And you could see the respect between them. You could see that, he was bolstered. Yeah. He was buoyed by the fact that she could be the next president of the United States, and that she will not waver in her support for a democracy in Europe. She will never sell them out. She will not give up on beating back an autocratic dictator and respecting sovereign countries. That's not, it is a core belief. She's as American as apple pie. That is what Americans believe. And she will never give up on that ideal. He will. Yeah. For what? For a couple of shekels? What really? He would sell us, into World War III if he had to.
Sell gold diapers. Yeah.
Yeah, and sneakers.
And sneakers.
And watches. Holy crap.
I have a lot of favorite quotes from her acceptance speech, but I think the one I'm going to get on my next T-shirt, in the enduring fight between democracy and fascism, I know where I stand and where the United States belong.
Exactly. She's not confused by any of it.
Stunning stilettos, perfect pearls, snazzy sneakers, and gorgeous girdles for everyone.
And not just a few.
Love you always.
Love you too. So, I wonder if it's nearby. Yes, it is. Okay, so check this out. I have a P.O. box, and people send me some of the most amazing stuff. Somebody sent Brett. What did you get? You got like a Believe bracelet?
Yeah, beads. Like
worry beads.
Yeah.
Worry beads, yeah. So, oh God, where's the card? Here it is. Now, see, she sent a card and signed her name, so I can thank Eve. I can thank you, Eve, because Eve actually wrote me a little note and put her name on it, so now I know where it came from, right? So Eve made me, she made these. These are so cute. I love them. I'm going to wear them. I should have worn them today because they go with everything. But she made me these Kamala adjacent pearls, and they're adorable. They're the cutest thing. So I need to get a pair of black Converse and, Chucks, and put an outfit together. Not that I can put an outfit. I wear the same thing every day, as if you've not noticed, of course. But, yeah. But Eve, thank you so much. What a nice thing to do.
Yeah, thank you, Eve. That was awesome.
Yeah, I also got a couple of more Petes. Stop sending Pete. Because somebody asked me off the top of my head, who did I want to win the Democratic nomination, I said Pete. And I would have been fine if it was Pete. But it's Kamala, and I'm more than fine. She's awesome. She's brilliant. She's amazing. I gotta say, I want to see her as president. I want to say Madam President to her.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law.
I mean, here's the current status of the border crossings in this here country. It is border crossings, border encounters are down by 70% under Biden and Harris. And that's during COVID. Lower than during COVID encounters at the border. The most comparable year was a pre-COVID year. That would be 2019. Border encounters are lower than 2019. But border encounters are actually lower than 2020, which was COVID. Title 42 helping Donald Trump out at the border. You know what's really fascinating? Greg Abbott is writing on X saying that, I think that now that Joe Biden is out of the race, he goes, I think I will need to triple the border wall, triple the razor wire, triple the barriers, and National Guard at the border. Well, guess what? None of that worked. None of it did. Joe Biden's plan reduced encounters at the border by 70%. Oh, well, I think when we were saying that if you raise the standard to claim asylum, you would see a decrease of people trying to claim asylum at the border. And guess what? That works. Donald Trump never built a wall. He built, he reinforced some portions of the fencing. That's it. Abbott tried to, he bussed people everywhere so that the whole country would be like super, super hyper alert to, immigrants. None of it stopped the encounters or lowered the number of encounters at the border. None of it, increased the numbers of people that were being sent back. None of that did. But, it's so interesting that under Biden and Kamala, and, it's always like that under Democrats, truly. When you think about who deported the most people in this country in modern history, was it Donald Trump? No. Was it Bill Clinton? No. Was it W? No. Was it HW? Was it Reagan? Reagan gave amnesty. Remember that? Yeah. No, it was Obama. It was Obama in 2010. That was the most removals in this modern history. So I don't know what it is that you think that Donald Trump, what his little secret sauce is. He couldn't care less. In fact, who all Republicans answer to? That's right, big agriculture and corporate manufacturer interests. And they rely on immigrant labor. In fact, today, if you go on RandiRhodes.com and you look at the homework, you will see the Peterson Institute put out their analysis of Donald Trump's plan for America. not just the deportation of millions of, people that are here working, which would be 12% of our workforce, which would shock our economy just like COVID did in the supply chain arena, but also the tax cuts too. And they just looked at, like what the fallout would be from such policies. And they realized that the policies that Donald Trump's advocating for are all inflationary, the tariffs, etc., the tax cuts, etc., and the deportations, that it would literally crash the economy. It would literally make things so much more expensive. You know what? They were saying that the price of things in this country under Donald Trump's plan by 2040 would be 41% more. That's inflation. Meanwhile, today, the metric of inflation that the Fed looks at, we're almost at, target bullseye, which is 2%. Remember when all this started, inflation was almost 10%. It was 9% year over year. Things were getting very, very, very expensive. So last time we checked, it was down to what, like 2.9? Today, 2.2% inflation, 2.2. I guess the Inflation Reduction Act was aptly named. And they mocked it. They made fun of it. They called it the Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah, because that's what it was going to do. It was going to reduce inflation, through a lot of, techniques and investments and subsidies for things we wanted more of, and taxes on things we wanted less of, and, getting rid of, some of the tariffs, making them more targeted, and doing an infrastructure package where the steel could actually be used. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, everything that Donald Trump promises would happen as a result of what he's, saying he's for would be a disaster. And in fact, for those of you who are worried about World War III, Donald Trump will bring it. He really will. He will bring it. He will turn to Netanyahu and he'll say, take everything you want. Just take it now. Just go get it. As if none of that is retaliatory. As if no one will ever retaliate. Yeah, okay. Same thing in Ukraine. He'll tell Putin, here, go satiate yourself. Go take all of Ukraine. Take whatever you want. As if that will satisfy Putin, and he'll stop. He'll stop at Ukraine. He won't go to Poland. He'll stop at Ukraine. He won't go to Czechoslovakia. He'll stop at Ukraine. He won't go anywhere else in Europe. He won't go and take Estonia, a tiny little beautiful country that I've been lucky enough to be, set foot in. No, he'll be fine. He'll be fine with just the eastern portion of Ukraine. I mean, what the hell? So I don't know why it's tied, except for the racism. You know what I mean? That and the evangelicals really are into breaking your back. They're into denying health care. As you can see, women are dying. They're into denying freedom of movement, freedom of travel, freedom of choice. They're very into it. And they're into denying you, a financial pathway to, get by. Even because they think that if they destroy the economy, if they destroy liberty, if they destroy women, and, people are so busy just fighting to stay alive because he does away with the ACA, which is all part of his Project 2025 plan, and it's all part of what he said he's for. He tries to say, I don't know who that person is. He says it about everyone who gets into trouble. He goes, I never met him. I don't know. So there's a picture of me. Oh, so what? I take pictures with thousands of people, right? He does it all the time. However, if you follow him down this rabbit hole, what happens is everybody is without. Everybody is without. The dollar is worthless. You have wheelbarrows full of dollars to buy a loaf of bread. You have no health care because the ACA is no longer, a thing. You have millions of people being thrown off their health care. In fact, you have all the sick people in one giant pool. What do you think is going to happen to their premiums? See, the whole idea of insurance is you spread out the risk. You do. And I know people complain, I'm subsidizing the sick. That's right, because you will eventually be one of them. And that's how insurance works. But they figure if they take all of this away and you're flailing so hard, you'll turn to God. Swear to God. That is the plan. It's a bad plan. It's a ridiculous plan. It's a plan that actually makes you do stuff that Donald Trump wouldn't do, and that is get on your knees and pray about it. But that's kind of why they're supporting him. They know he's an immoral man. They should be ashamed of themselves supporting an immoral man, but they're not, because they think he is the key that unlocks the door to godliness. Swear to God. It's a thing. Now, look at Mother Nature. Have a little look-see. Yeah, she's going to have her way with you no matter what we do. What you do want to do, though, is starve that beast of moisture that is flooding Atlanta, Asheville, North Carolina, and parts of South Carolina as we speak. Do you think Donald Trump knows anything about that? I think he's interested in, because he thinks windmills cause cancer. Now, if he's not answering to corporate oil and gas interests, then, color me so surprised. But that's who's running everything with him. That's what it is. Everything is what corporate wants. It's all about that.